Hello everyone, my name is Hugo and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about some books on my bookshelves that I find very intimidating. So I haven't read them, but I have been wanting to for years and I bought them for a reason. So they are on my shelves. I will get to them hopefully eventually, but I just never did. Haven't got around to it because they scare me. Either because they're very long, or they're the start of a big series, or they're just old, like a classic book that I haven't read but really want to because everyone talks about it. But I'm just scared that it'll be too difficult for me, or too boring, or disappointing, and stuff like that. Without further ado, I'm just gonna get into it. You all know I am a Stephen King fan. I read a lot of books by him, but one of his more famous ones is better ones, people say, is The Stand, and I haven't read that because it's massive, and I read it and it took me months because I read like 300-400 pages of it and then I put it away, read some other books, got back to it, and so on and so on. And this is like the same length or even maybe longer. It's just, I know it'll be good. It's about a pandemic, and the thing is, it's just a little bit too long. It's like 1400 pages or something. This particular version is 1200, so this is the uncut version too. But yeah, it just scares me. It's so, not because it's scary, but because it's so long and there's so many characters I already know, and it's gonna be hard to keep up with, I think. So that's why this is on here. Then another Stephen King book on this series is The Dark Tower. I've heard that The Dark Tower is really good, but you need to read the first one. But the first one, they say, is pretty much a 200-page prologue, which sounds very boring. There's two reasons that this intimidates me. One, because of the prologue, that the number, like the first one being a prologue basically of like 200-300 pages. That doesn't sound too exciting to me. And then secondly, it's a 7-book series. I already have trouble starting trilogies, let alone a 7-book series. So that's why this is on here. And also because it has a lot of connections to the Stephen King multiverse. So I need to read more Stephen King books first, and then I'm able to get to the Dark Tower series, I think. So that's why that one is on here. And that's the last Stephen King book, I promise. Next is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I just have heard so many times that this book is so boring and so long for no reason that it's like reading an encyclopedia on whales or sailing at some points. But then you also heard that Moby Dick is the greatest book ever written. So I'm like, what is it? Because very boring stuff isn't the greatest book ever written to me. I know like people can say that because it's a classic or whatever, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but yeah, it still scares me. But I want to be able to say, I have read Moby Dick, yeah, no big deal. Who hasn't, right? But I haven't gotten around to it. This is also a very old copy, so I wouldn't even be able to read this because it's in Old Dutch. And that's even more difficult to read, so. Next up is Haruki Murakami's 1Q84. This is obviously inspired by 1984 by George Orwell. No idea what this is about. I know it's a dystopia. The reason this intimidates me is just because of its length. This copy is 1300 and more pages long, so it's a trilogy technically, but it's still one book. So, and I also know Murakami can be weird sometimes. I like his writing style, but sometimes he just talks about such weird things, and people call it surrealism sometimes, like the way he writes. And it's interesting sometimes, but also it can be very confusing, if that makes sense. I can be very confusing too. I like Murakami. I mean, I say I like him, but I've read one novel and a couple of short stories. But yeah, I really want to get into this book eventually, but we'll see what happens. Next, I got Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. This obviously is on here because it's a classic and because it's always recommended as because it's always recommended as one of the greater books of all time. I really want to get into this. I really, this is probably like up there of books that I really want to read but never get to. Just because it scares me and it's gonna be difficult, I think. And yeah, my English is very good, but like reading this in Dutch would be difficult too. So yeah, I'm just worried. I'm worried I will not like it, and I'm worried that I will put it down and regret even getting started on it, and I'm worried that it'll put me in a slump, and I'm worried for a lot of reasons of this book, but still want to read it. Next is it's the last one on this list. It's Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive series, starting with Way of Kings. And reason number one, like, come on. I started this, by the way. I am 132 pages in, liked every single page in this book so far, but it's long. It's long, and knowing that it's not just the first one being this long, no, there are longer books, and knowing that it's gonna be 10 books in this series at least, because knowing Brandon Sanderson, it's gonna be 25. So, but knowing like every book in this series is gonna be 1,000+ pages, I have other stuff to read. I have other stuff that I want to read, so that's why this intimidates me. And the longer I put it off, the longer I get behind, and the longer it'll take me to ever even be able to finish this series. So I really need to get to this, but I haven't, and that's why it's on this list. So those are all the books that are on this list that I find intimidating. What are the books that you find intimidating? Let me know down below in the comments. I know we all have books, are great whales to be on topic with Moby Dick. So we all have our great whales that we really want to read them, but we just can't get to them because they scare us, and it's just something we will have to live with, I guess. So let me know down below what are some intimidating books on your bookshelf. If you want to support me, leave a like and subscribe on my channel, and expect a video every other week at least, hopefully. I say that because sometimes it takes me a little longer, and sometimes I upload more frequently, so we'll see. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.